Hey friends! Welcome to Spirit Club, a podcast and community that is all about doing the inner work to live an aligned and, dare I say, happy life. I'm your host, spiritual guide and intuitive, Angell Kelly, and I'm here to share my teachings along with messages passed on to me from higher consciousness. I've also got incredible guests in store to help you go down all those spiritual rabbit holes. So let's go! Welcome to the club! Hello. Today we have another highly requested episode, and this is a question that a lot of clients have for me, and that is, how do I know if something is spirit-led? How do I know if this person, this thing, this career, this path, this direction is spirit-led? Okay? So let's start. First of all, what is a spirit-led life? What is spirit-led? So this is synonymous with living according to God's plan, synonymous with a soul-led life, synonymous with leading life, following your intuition, aligned, all those sorts of things, okay? So let's take it back. Before your soul came to earth, it agreed to, signed a soul contract of sorts. And this is like a purpose that your soul agreed to fulfill in this lifetime. And when I say purpose, I want to be clear that I don't mean career. We as humans, we often associate purpose with career because career takes up such a large portion of our lives. But this soul purpose is much broader. It covers your entire life, not just the life that you're working in. And the way that your career manifests might align with your soul's purpose, or it might not. But so I want to say that. So as a fragment of source, your soul wanted to experience certain things as a human in this lifetime. Experience certain things, learn certain lessons, okay? So broad things, this could be like to forgive, learn forgiveness, or learn to speak your truth, or learn to experience joy, whatever it is, okay? So that's what I'm talking about when I talk about your soul's contract and purpose and what you chose to do, what your soul chose to do coming into this lifetime. So in order to fulfill your purpose, there are obviously going to be many paths possible. And there are going to be some lessons, some challenges along the way that feed into that purpose, right? So for example, if your soul chose to experience forgiveness, you're obviously going to have some experiences that teach you about forgiveness, people that you have to forgive, right? So the reason I'm pointing that out is because just because something is spirit-led doesn't mean that it just only feels good, right? I mean, honestly, your soul contract could have been to overcome challenges, that like it could be something a bit more challenging. So in the end, spirit-led, point is, spirit-led doesn't only mean good, great feelings, okay? And like being in your dream life. It involves all aspects of the human experience. And honestly, after working in this field for a few years, and I often am trying to connect to the purpose of the person I'm reading, because that's what most of you want to know about. And while I think that I'm given clues to give to you, I'm not sure that we are ever given our true soul's purpose. Because if we knew it, then we kind of would be missing out on the human experience that we came here to have. You know what I mean? So like, let go of ever totally knowing your purpose. You'll know clues, you'll have all these pieces, but I don't think you'll really know until you cross over and return to the spirit world. Okay, so let's talk about some signs that something is spirit-led, okay? I've got 4.5. You'll see what I mean. 4.5 signs that something is spirit-led. The first one is signs and synchronicities. So you'll know something is spirit-led when you actually feel quite neutral about it. Not good or bad, you don't feel much about it, but it keeps coming up. Like coming up through synchronicities, coming up through signs, strange conversations with people, just popping up out of the blue. You know what synchronicities are, coincidences. So it's like you don't feel much about it, but it's like in your face. Okay, this is a sign that something is spirit-led. So for example, a client of mine, she knew she wanted to go on a trip somewhere, but didn't know where, with who, how long, all that sort of thing. And she starts seeing the evil eye. Gosh, I wish I had one here to show you guys, but look it up, the evil eye, everywhere. She was seeing it everywhere. I couldn't even give you the amount of examples that she had. And the evil eye is associated with Greece. And she's never really felt drawn to Greece. She's never been called to Greece, but that's what I meant. She feels pretty neutral about it. But it keeps like coming up and battering her. So she booked a ticket and more synchronicities, more coincidences are coming up, really, really guiding her towards Greece. This is what I would call something that is spirit-led. Okay, second sign that something is spirit-led is flow. There's a lot of flow around it. So, it's a direction, something you're considering, and there's a lot of flow and momentum pushing you in that direction, as though you barely have to do anything, as though it requires very little effort. You almost just have to like step into the fast flowing river current and it's going to take you where you're meant to go right now. That is another sign that something is spirit-led. Okay, third sign that something is spirit-led is around fear. So you feel afraid or resistant to whatever this is that you're considering. You feel afraid or resistant, but there's a momentum pulling you towards it. So this one you probably feel on like a deeper knowing level, but you just don't want it to be true, you know? I feel like you guys know what I'm talking about. For me, this is how I felt at the end of 2022. I was working in the field as a geologist, happy to do that. And an offer kind of fell into my lap to take a job in town, in the office downtown. I wasn't looking for it. I didn't even want it. I was happy to stay in the field while I grew my spiritual business. And but like this one both involved flow and fear, because there was so much momentum, so much flow in the direction of me taking this job. But I was afraid and I was resistant. I was like, I don't want, like I knew on a deeper level that it was going to be hard. And therefore I was afraid. But I could not deny all the flow that was opening up. There was so much opening up that I was like, yeah, God really wants me to go this way. And I may not understand why. And it may be hard, which it was. But it was a necessary step in my soul's path towards alignment. And like, spoiler alert, had I not taken that job, worked that job downtown for 2 years, been on call and completely burnt myself out, I wouldn't be where I am today in Greece, for sure. I had to like really get to the end of that rope in order to leave it. I probably would have stayed in the field forever. I was happy to do that. But this job made me actually leave. Okay. And fourth sign that something is spirit-led is you weren't looking for it. Like it sort of comes out of left field. It's random. So it's random, but it's grabbed your attention. It comes out of left field and you're interested. Okay. So this one you'll see a lot of the time on the other side of doing a lot of inner work, particularly around self-worth and or surrender. If you're doing a lot of work in that area, that's when this one will often come up, because when we surrender, God is able to show us the best possible thing for us. And remember, God knows all the infinite possibilities for us, and we know a little narrow bit. Okay, so when we lean into surrender, we're able to see the more aligned possibility that God's presenting us. And that will often feel very random and like something you'd never thought of. So this can be a sign that something is spirit-led. Okay, so those are the 4 signs, but I said it's 4.5. So I want to give a special mention to desire. Hi friends, just a quick interruption to let you know that enrollment for Within, a one-on-one mentorship with me, is open. Within is an 11-week customized to you private mentorship where we do the inner work so that you can align with your soul's path and purpose. I truly believe that our external world is a reflection of our internal world. And so if you are feeling stuck, frustrated, lost, and know that you are meant for more in this life, Within is for you. Sessions each week are a blend of intuitive coaching, healing, guided meditation, and/or subconscious reprogramming. And you know there are lots of practical exercises too. We start the last week of September, and I'm only accepting a small handful of clients. So if you're interested, drop your name in the link in the show notes, and I'll send you the details. And guys, I know private mentorship these days can be wildly expensive, so I just want to let you know up front that Within is roughly the cost of 11 angel readings. Nothing crazy, and you're welcome to pay monthly. Hope to see you in there. So the reason I'm not giving desire as a full-fledged sign that something is spirit-led is because it is very nuanced, desire. It is so nuanced that I've actually done a full episode on this. Episode 16, What You Think You Want. Go back and check that one out if this is interesting to you. I'm not going to go into full detail here, but bottom line is, based on how aware we are, so aware of our programming, aware of our shadows, aware of our wounds, based on how aware we are, desire may be ego-driven or spirit-driven, heart-led. Okay, so if we're totally unaware and we are living in our wounds, desire will often be like 90% ego-driven, and therefore it's not a great sign that a direction is spirit-led. So what you really want to know is, how do I know if my desire is ego or, heart, soul-driven? And again, go check that episode out where I break it down, but I'll give you like the bottom line. You'll know that you can trust the desires of your heart leading you in a spirit-led direction if you are unattached to the outcome. Okay, so let me give you an example from my own life. Okay, I used to want to be a professional dancer, a ballerina. That was a desire. This was long before I had done any work on myself, inner work. That was a desire. Wanted to be a dancer, had to be a dancer. If I weren't a dancer, I would be devastated. It had to be that. And all my self-worth was tied up in it. And if it didn't work out, I would be devastated, all that sort of thing. That is an example of a desire that is mostly ego-driven, because it's my ego trying to gain worth and identity through that path. Okay, and yeah, sure, there's a little piece in there that's giving me a clue about my more spirit-led path, but that was largely ego-driven. Whereas, and I use my heart and my desires a lot today because I'm very aware of what's a wound and what isn't, or I hope I am. And so I use my desires a lot today to point me in direction of God's plan. And so, for example, this podcast, this is something that I want to do My heart wants this to be a massive success, for sure. And however, I am unattached to the outcome. If God shows me that this is not the way, I will let it go. I will move on. I will pivot. It is totally fine. Because what I'm committed to is really the feeling. The desire is attached to a feeling and less so the exact outcome. This outcome, the podcast, is an example of that feeling expressed. So me being able to express, share, use my channel, help others in a larger way. And I'm sure God will show me another step, another way, and I will go that way without, without a total devastation breakdown. Okay, I hope that was clear. So desire is a tricky one. And there's a lot of talk in the new age world of like, desire is a sign of something that you already possess in the future or something like that. And I would say, no, not always. Kind of depends on where you are on your healing path and your level of awareness and all that sort of thing. Okay, so those are signs something is spirit-led. And I just wanted to finish the episode with, what does it take? What does it take to live spirit-led? Because maybe you say you want a spirit-led life. Maybe you know a direction that is spirit-led and you're wondering if you should carry forth in that direction. I want you to know what it takes. Okay. First of all, no surprise, it takes trust. Trust in God, the universe, spirit. Insert whatever word feels right for you. 100%. If you want to live a spirit-led life, 100%, you are going to have to trust fall into the arms of God. I actually love this analogy. A client gave it to me the other night. So, trust falling. I don't even know if I've actually done it or just seen it in movies, but you go and you fall back and you hope that somebody catches you. You are going to have to do that time and time again if you choose to live a spirit-led life. You will have to fall back and believe that God will catch you and have no guarantee. Okay? It takes courage, obviously, to do a trust fall. You will have to be brave. And this one follows the last one, obviously. And to do what it takes to live spirit-led. It takes a lot. It takes taking action, takes doing things that others haven't done, takes pivoting, all these sorts of things. It will require courage time and time again. And the more spirit-led you live, the more courage is required. And I don't say that to scare you, to be like, oh, you're going to have to be braver and braver, because in fact, you will get better at being brave, right? It'll be really hard the first time, and it'll be a little less hard the next time, and a little less hard the next time. And as time goes on, being brave will be a skill for you that you get pretty good at. Okay, it takes patience. It takes patience. When we trust in God's plan for us, that means sometimes we're going to have to go through periods of waiting through a more difficult time, waiting in the discomfort of not knowing, all that sort of thing, but still trusting. So, requires patience. To live a spirit-led life requires resilience. So, sometimes, as I've mentioned a few times in this episode, living spirit-led, God's plan will take you through times, seasons, experiences that are meant to make you stronger, to help you learn what you're here to do. And those can be challenging times. I referred to the 2 years that I was working downtown on call. Those were really, really challenging times for me. But I knew that it was meant to get me somewhere. And so I had that resilience to keep me going. It takes this one's no surprise, but to live spirit-led, it takes the ability to surrender, to let go, to pivot. Duh. So when you live spirit-led, your heart is going to guide you in directions, your intuition is going to guide you, and you will work towards a certain goal outcome, because that's just how we work as humans. But living spirit-led will require you to periodically let go of whatever that is, pivot, allow it to change. Living spirit-led often requires quite a few pivots. And finally, living spirit-led requires leadership. So at least right now, living spirit-led is rare. The majority of people around you aren't doing it. Likely, you are going to be the first in your circle to live that way, to live spirit-led. So this might make you feel misunderstood. This might make you feel alone, crazy, like you don't fit in. People might judge you. People might question you because it doesn't make sense, because they don't believe in it. And I don't say all of that to like make you feel like a victim or to put some sort of victim mentality on you. I actually say it so that you can start to reframe it as leadership, because that's what it is. Leading the way, being the first in your community, in your circle, to live spirit-led. And if you can stand in the energy of leadership, you won't have people trying to cut you down. In fact, you will be inspiring others just by holding that energy of leadership. Okay, that's it for today, friends. I love and so appreciate if you'd pass this episode on to anyone who is going through major changes and trying to find their direction. I feel like that's pretty alive right now with eclipse season. So I believe this will really help them. So you can help me out by passing it on. Until next time.